What's up guys, Chris here, back in Borderlands 3, and today we're going to take a look at a very deadly combination of weapons for ZANE. So this is going to be a ZANE build. As you probably saw, it absolutely shreds bosses and it deals insane amounts of damage. So we are going to jump right in with everything you need to know about this build and how you can make it for yourself. So I'm going to start things off with the more important ones, and these are the items. I think that this is where we should probably start, because this is something that you can use for other characters, not just for ZANE, but because of his functionalities, ZANE works extremely well with this combination, and this is going to be especially useful for those who want to play this character but were kinda underwhelmed by its performance in most areas of the game. But yeah, he's still pretty decent, and in this case he's going to be absolutely amazing with this combination over here, the combination between the Cutsman as well as the Unforgiven. In this case we're using the Cutsman because the projectile speed over here is slow enough so that before the projectiles even reach the boss, we can switch to a weapon with a high crit chance to augment the damage of the previous weapon. In this case, the Unforgiven, to benefit from that 384% critical hit damage. So what this means is that not only do I deal the huge amount of damage from the Cutsman, I am further buffing that with the crit switch tactic from the Unforgiven. So this is where like a huge chunk of the damage comes from. But yeah, in order to benefit fully from these two, I believe that ZANE fits the best for this type of build. But of course, you can go ahead and test it out for other characters in there as well. As far as the other weapons go, it doesn't really matter. If you're fighting against bosses, this is all you need. I mean, just one clip of the Cutsman with a switch to Unforgiven is all you need to melt the Graveward or any other enemy in the game, assuming of course you are hitting all of those projectiles. Otherwise, if you're fighting against enemies, which this build that I'm about to show you definitely works, you can use the Nighthawken, you can use the Butcher, you can use any weapon in the game that is just overall good at most of the scenarios. As far as the rest of the items go, I went with the Rerouter for the shield. This is something that I showed in the past, but when your shield is fully charged, you can sacrifice about 50% of your shield to have an additional 120% bonus M damage and return it as health, but mostly it is important because of that M damage. But yeah, let's jump over the actual build, and in this case I'm using the Hitman build because I believe that this is the more important one and the one that benefits me the most in this kind of situation. When strictly farming for Graveward, for Troy for example, for Tyrene, this is the build that worked best for me. So it's kind of like a combination of all three of the skill builds. In this case, you're going to aim for Seeing Red, which makes it so that when you activate an action skill, it automatically activates all of your ZANE's kill skills. And in this tree over here, as well as in the others, there's a ton of kill skills that will grant you damage, lifesteal, or fire rate, or just shooting multiple projectiles at the same time. For example, Violent Momentum. ZANE's gun damage is increased while moving. The quicker you move, the greater the gun damage, up to 20% at default walk speed. You're going to move constantly anyway, and you're going to have a huge amount of haste with this build, so you're going to benefit from this as well. This is a very mobile build, by the way. The second one is Violent Speed. This just improves your movement speed when you're doing kills, but since it's a kill skill, this also gets activated by simply having the ultimate over here. Outside of this, another kill skill, Salvation. It gives you lifesteal. This is rather useful against enemies. It definitely saved me on a few occasions. Death follows close. I found this to be extremely important. All of ZANE's kill skills gain increase effect and duration. So the duration is +7, which means that all of these gun damage, movement speed, lifesteal, whatever else there is, you're going to have it for much longer. Another one, Violent Violence. After killing an enemy, ZANE gains increased fire rate for a few seconds, up to 25% for 15 seconds. And then there's the Playing Dirty. After killing an enemy, ZANE's next 5 shots all have a chance to fire an additional projectile, extra shot chance 50%. So these are all kill skills, and all of these will get activated if you have the Seeing Red perk over here, which is why I've invested in these points. In my case, I also went with the Sentinel. You don't really need to go with this one. You can switch for the Clone, for example, for the Digiclone, but I just went with this one because it's so easy to activate. But yeah, let's go in the double agent, and there's a few options over here that I went with. Specifically here, the synchronicity. This is very important. Whenever one or more of Zane's action skills are active, he gains increased gun damage for each active action skill, plus 20% per active action skill. And since for Zane it's so easy to activate two action skills at the same time, I can just activate the Sentinel or the Digiclone as well as the barrier, and I'm just having like 40% additional damage just because I have all of that. And this doesn't take into account all of the other action skills that I was already talking about. And these are not the only ones, there's a ton more on top of that, like Zane and his Digiclone gain increased magazine size from the Proeminicious, I think that's how you pronounce this, just 25% flat out magazine size increase, which is absolutely very useful, especially for this kind of build. And then I also went with the Borrowed Time. Zane gains increased action skill duration for every active action skill, so this was rather useful because I can use these activated skills for longer. And that is pretty much it with what I invested in the double agent tree. And finally we have the Undercover with another bunch of very useful perks over here. Zane gains increased action skill cooldown rate, and this bonus is based on the amount of shields he has. The more percentage full, the greater the bonus, up to 35%. Then we have Zane gains improved shield recharge rate and shield recharge delay with the Ready for Action perk. Again, because we rely so much on shields and having them at full, this is definitely important. And finally, a very important one is while Zane's shields are active, he gains increased gun damage and accuracy, and this bonus is based on the amount of shields again that he has. The higher it is, the closer it is to 100%, the greater the damage bonus is going to be. In this case, gun damage up to 20%, accuracy up to 33%. So very useful ones, a nice synergy over here, just having full shields after you use the rerouter for the first time, and then you just get all of these perks that give you gun damage, rate of fire, extra bullets, lifesteal, all that kind of stuff, and this is going to be extremely powerful against bosses. So yeah, let's just jump right in and show you exactly how you need to run with this, because there's a few tricks here and there that you need to do, and there's a good reason for why I am using the Cutsman and nothing else, even though that you can use something like a rocket launcher, for example, that shoots slow projectiles. This definitely works with something like that. So once you reach the arena, activate your shield, take it upon you, then also activate your Digiclone or your Sentinel. From this point on, simply use the Cutsman and you can just empty your entire 24 magazine size into him, and before those projectiles even hit him, simply switch to the Unforgiven to benefit from that almost 400% critical hit damage. And yeah, congratulations, you just melted the boss in literally like 1 second. This is basically the gist of this build, and I got this inspiration from another YouTuber, by the way. I saw him doing this on live stream, so I'm going to post a link down below to that particular YouTuber. But yeah, this is basically how you do it, and you can replace the Cutsman with literally anything that has a slower moving projectile like a rocket launcher. Anything else will not work. So if you're using this with assault rifles, sniper rifles, if you're using this with anything that has instant bullets, it's not going to work because you're not going to have enough time to both empty your entire magazine, have it travel, and still switch to the Unforgiven. Now you might be asking yourself if this is a gimmick, and it kind of is, but honestly the Graveward is such a good source of just farming loot that you barely need to even go to anything else unless you're like farming for some specific items. But even in that case, you can still get very good items from Graveward as well, and I've tested this against other bosses including Troy, Tyrene, and it definitely works against those. The only bosses that this build doesn't work against are bosses that tend to stay up in your face, or against encounters where enemies tend to get close to you, move a lot, when you don't have a chance to amp that damage with the Unforgiven and have the Cutsman deal all the damage, including the almost 400% critical hit damage bonus. But yeah, otherwise this is all there is to the build. I just wanted to bring it to you guys. You can go ahead and test it for Zane, and it definitely works amazingly. I think that out of all of the characters, for Zane it works almost the best. Maybe Flack has a little bit better time than him, but yeah, you can go ahead and test it on other characters as well. In the meantime, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe to show your support, and I will see you guys in the next one.